They're dominating the stage. They're breaking the box office. They're winning the biggest awards and making Hollywood a more equitable battlefield. The 10 most powerful openly gay male stars. Achievements that no one can deny. Legacies that no one can erase. Are you ready to see who's really leading the way? In the midst of Hollywood fever, where the loudest voices rule, Billy Eichner emerged and made a splash in his own right. Born in New York City in 1978 and raised in Queens, he grew up between pop culture obsessions and Broadway dreams. He became a comedian, actor, and show creator, a name that echoed through pop culture like a trumpet signal. But for Billy, the rise was about fame. It was about distinction. He didn't just aim for a seat at the table, he built his own show around it. You saw it, Billy on the Street. He raced through New York sidewalks, ambushing pedestrians with pop culture chaos and quick-fire wit. The show aired on Fuse and True TV, then exploded online, earning Emmy nominations and turning random passers-by into viral moments. It proved he was more than just a TV comedian. He was a TV phenomenon doing comedy. But his rise didn't stop with witty chaos. He showed mainstream power. He became Craig Middlebrooks on Parks and Recreation, voiced Timon in Disney's 2019 remake of The Lion King, and is set to return for Mufasa the Lion King in 2025. His evolution from improv club outsider to voice actor for a global blockbuster showed ambition combined with versatility. And as an openly gay man, Billy broke boundaries, and then painted them in bold. He came out at a time when many gay actors were in the shadows. He reshaped the gay image, not as a side note, but as the headline. In interviews, he insisted that gay actors deserved to be leading men in romantic comedies, that their stories were not niche. His 2022 film Bras, a major studio romantic comedy with an all-LGBTQ cast, marked a new era. Follow his path and you'll see a chain of bold moves, dramatic street performances, a sitcom role that brought him into millions of homes, a voice role in a series of films, romantic comedies written, produced, and starring a gay man. Yes, his fame and nominations matter, but more importantly, he created a blueprint for a gay actor reshaping Hollywood. Not a supporting role, not a best gay friend. Star, writer, producer, architect of his own rise. Billy's activism comes not with charity gimmicks, but with deep engagement and humor. He's partnered with campaigns like Glam Up the Midterms to get millennials to vote, used his platform to demand change in representation, challenged the limits of Hollywood's role. He didn't pose, he performed. His humor is loud, sharp, and fearless, yet always grounded in purpose. Discipline is the foundation of his story. He studied theater at Northwestern University, majoring in theater and acting, honing his skills in improv, skits, and stand-up comedy. He translated those skills into street performance and made it viral. That foundation is important because the move from underground comedy to commercial voiceovers to gay-led romantic comedies isn't about changing lanes. It's about redesigning the map. And he did. He proved it. A gay comedian can host a mainstream quiz show. A gay actor can voice a Disney lion. A gay man can write, produce, and star in the romantic comedy he's always wanted to see. Billy Eichner's story is the story of Hollywood's gay vanguard, audacious, bold, unstoppable. His career isn't just about recognition, it's about self-recognition. He's not waiting for roles written by others, he's writing them. When the lights flicker on Hollywood's next chapter, Billy isn't walking into them, he's building them. He's flipping the switch, and he's daring everyone to watch. In the world of Hollywood, where actors rise and fall like seasons, Cumming stands apart, not just as a star, but as a force. Born in Aberfeldy, Scotland in 1965, he carried the rugged spirit of Scotland into the bright stages of London, New York, and beyond. As an actor, director, producer, writer, and presenter, Cumming built a career that defies simple categorization. He is theater's firebrand, film's chameleon, and television's rule breaker. From the early days, his breakthrough came on stage. He won the Laurence Olivier Award for Best Comedy Performance for Accidental Death of an Anarchist in 1991. Then he took London and Broadway by storm, transforming roles and rewriting expectations of what a leading man could be. In 1998, he won the Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical as the MC in Cabaret. That moment signaled the arrival of a star who would not simply perform, he would dominate. Cinema greeted him next, from Bond villain Boris Grishenko in GoldenEye, to the sly Fagin Floop in Spy Kids, from the shape-shifting Nightcrawler in X2, to his unforgettable charm in Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. Cumming's range knew no boundaries. Television welcomed him too, most notably his role as Eli Gold in The Good Wife, earning multiple Emmy nominations and cementing his place in American pop culture. But what truly sets Alan Cumming apart is his refusal to rest in any one lane. He wrote novels, spun out photography exhibitions, opened a New York nightclub, Club Cumming, produced stage shows, and harnessed his voice for activism. He made clear success isn't enough. Impact is essential. As an openly queer artist, he didn't just carve out space for himself. He held up a mirror for generations. He insisted that gay actors could be stars, not sidekicks. He demanded that queer stories matter. His leadership wasn't whispered, it roared. Cumming's legacy is tethered to trophies, the Olivier, the Tony, the BAFTA, the Emmy, but the truer measure lies in influence. He taught the industry that an openly gay man could host a reality show, win Emmys as a presenter, command Broadway, dazzle on screen, and lead television, all while staying defiantly himself. Recently, in 2025, he hosted the British Academy Television Awards and starred in the short film Sleazy Tiger, reminding everyone he's still evolving, still challenging, still rewriting what it means to lead. For those making videos about openly gay men in Hollywood and their career milestones, Alan Cumming's journey is a blueprint. It's not about arriving, it's about staying relevant by being real, bold, and endlessly multifaceted. He isn't a footnote in Hollywood's queer history. He is one of its boldest headlines. When the camera rolls on the next wave of representation, Alan is both the precursor and the pathfinder. And as the lights come up on Hollywood's next era, Alan Cumming isn't just ready. He's already there, building, starring, defining. He didn't wait for permission. He rewrote the script, he flipped the stage, he owned the spotlight, and widened its beam for others. In the story of queer Hollywood, his name is stitched through every thread of change. Hollywood loves a breakout star, someone who appears seemingly overnight and suddenly everyone's wondering how they ever missed him. Noah Galvin is exactly that kind of wildfire phenomenon, a performer shaped by New York energy and Broadway instinct. He didn't come into Hollywood hoping to blend in. He came to stand in the center. Not with explosions or ego, but with a voice and presence that refuses to be ignored. Noah publicly came out before it was a PR trend or a headline strategy. He didn't build a brand on sexuality, he built a life. That authenticity became the backbone of his career. In an industry that often tries to shrink queer actors into limited roles, he proved his range so undeniable that Hollywood had to widen the frame just to hold him. His first shockwave hit with The Real O'Neills, a sitcom that dared to center a gay teen navigating identity inside a deeply Catholic family. Not a sidekick, not a stereotype, the lead. For countless queer teens watching, Noah wasn't just a character, he was representation they'd been waiting for. A validation that their stories were worthy of laughter, love, and screen time. But television was only the opening chapter. Broadway, The arena where talent is judged every single night is where Noah's legend grew. He stepped into Dear Evan Hansen not as a replacement, but as a revelation. Taking on one of the most emotionally and vocally demanding roles of the decade, he delivered crushing vulnerability on stage 8 shows a week. The blue polo, the cast on his arm, the quiet ache in every note. Critics praised him, audiences sobbed for him. Broadway had found a new emotional anchor. Then, without letting the applause settle, Noah transformed again, joining Waitress and showing he could shift tone, style, and comedic rhythm like flipping a switch. Reinvention isn't a challenge for him, it's a habit. But Noah's gifts don't end under spotlights. He writes, he produces, he voices characters that let his humor and subtlety shine. Films like Booksmart and indie projects allow him to stretch beyond expectations and showcase drama, comedy, and heart in equal measure. He's not following a Hollywood blueprint, he's drawing a new one. What makes Noah essential to this conversation is not just success, it's how he succeeds. He represents a different kind of leading man, talent first, truth always. A performer who proves that queer actors can headline stories without compromising who they are. A reminder that audiences connect with honesty far more than prepackaged perfection. And while others talk loudly about representation, Noah practices it. Simply by being visible, by taking roles that reflect real people, by letting young queer viewers see a future where they belong, not in the background, but in the spotlight. His career already includes hit television, a Broadway phenomenon, advocacy woven through action rather than slogans, and a fan base that grows every year. And what's wild is, he's still early in his journey. The momentum around him isn't fading, it's tightening like a slingshot. So the real question isn't, will Noah Galvin become one of Hollywood's defining queer stars? The question is, how far is he planning to run once he's already this far ahead? Noah Galvin didn't wait for permission, approval, or validation. He stepped up ready, and the industry had no choice but to adjust. He doesn't just hold the spotlight, he widens it, for every queer talent following behind. Hollywood likes clarity. They like labels. They like boxes with neat edges and polished actors inside them. But then came Nico Tortorella, a person who always refused simplicity. A performer who came into the industry and said, "Why be one thing when I can be everything?" In a world that loves predictable identities, Nico built a career on fluidity, creativity, and beautiful rebellion. Before most people learned to pronounce his last name, Nico was working, modeling, acting, chasing the industry from every possible angle. But recognition didn't come from being loud. It came from being unmistakable. It came from presence. Sharp eyes, soft features, a boldness that whispered louder than it shouted. Hollywood recognized that. Then Younger came along. Suddenly, audiences across the country fell for the love triangle. Not because the show forced it, but because Nico's portrayal of Josh felt real. Tattoo artist, romantic, authentic emotion in a sea of glitz. Audiences watched for the humor, but stayed for the heart. Nico wasn't just a pretty face on TV. They were proof that vulnerability and confidence can coexist. But their story wouldn't be written by one breakout role. Nico went full-on badass in Scream 4, shifting into a darker sensibility. They ventured into horror, indie cinema, and drama, exploring characters that defied traditional storytelling. Every choice signaled one message loud and clear: evolution is the goal. And the most important transformation? It wasn't on screen. It was in the spotlight of truth. In 2017, Nico came out as bisexual and later embraced their gender fluidity, not as a press move, as liberation. Hollywood often celebrates queerness only when it's marketable, but Nico didn't wait for permission. They lived it and gave countless fans language to understand themselves more clearly. Their voice isn't limited to acting. Nico writes books, poetry that exposes inner thoughts most people are afraid to speak. They host podcasts on love, identity, and the complicated art of being human. They advocate fiercely, talking sexuality without judgment, masculinity without walls, and fame without masks. While others chase blockbusters, Nico chases meaning. While others chase scripts, Nico rewrites the mold. This isn't a career built on hype, it's built on openness. What makes Nico Tortorella powerful for LGBTQ+ representation is not the moment they came out, it's everything they did after. They turned visibility into validation for anyone who feels in between. They created space where none existed. They taught Hollywood that a leading character doesn't need to be straight, doesn't need to be traditionally masculine, only true. Hollywood loves success stories, but Nico offers something better, a new archetype. They don't chase the spotlight, they change what the spotlight looks like. When you watch Nico now, you're not watching someone perform, you're watching someone become. Every project, an experiment. Every role, a reinvention. The magic, the world is still catching up, because Nico hasn't stopped growing, still shifting, still questioning, still pushing the walls away. And in that motion, they've become the movement itself. Hollywood has a long history of turning side characters into fan favorites, and Santiago is the perfect example of what happens when a scene stealer refuses to stay in the background. With his signature curls, razor-sharp comedic timing, and a charisma that hits like a punchline and a gut punch at once, Ray became the heart and sometimes the guts of one of TV's wildest franchises, Ash vs. Evil Dead. Before chainsaws, deadites, and buckets of blood turned him into a cult horror icon, Ray was grinding the industry from the ground up. Born and raised in the Bronx, he wasn't handed a Hollywood pass. He fought for it. From early appearances in Girl Fight, In Time, and guest roles across major TV shows, he laid bricks quietly until he found the moment to break the wall. And that moment was Pablo. The loyal sidekick, the comic relief, the underdog with a heart bigger than any monster he faced. But Ray didn't treat Pablo like a throwaway trope. He turned him into the emotional core of the entire series. While Bruce Campbell brought the chainsaw swagger, Ray brought humanity. Fans didn't just cheer Pablo on, they rooted for him like he was one of them. A queer Latino actor leading a major cult hit? Hollywood didn't see it coming, but Ray made sure they had no choice but to notice. What makes Ray's journey stand out isn't just the blood splatter glory. It's the fact that he navigated an industry that still struggles to give openly gay men, especially those of color, roles with depth. Ray came out publicly years before many of his peers. Not when it was convenient, not for headlines, but because truth is fuel, and he was already running. He said in interviews that growing up, he didn't see people like him on screen. So he became the representation he wished he had, without letting the industry flatten his identity. Ray played queer characters, straight characters, action roles, comedy roles, proving that talent is the real headline. After Ash vs. Evil Dead, he kept pushing boundaries. Theater runs, indie films, emotional stretch, advocacy appearances, embracing his Puerto Rican roots and encouraging young performers who look like him, love like him, dream like him. Ray doesn't use activism as branding, it's simply who he is, a proud voice that refuses silence. Hollywood often acts like a narrow hallway for actors who don't fit its default design. Ray Santiago kicked a hole in the drywall and carved an exit of his own. And in doing so, he widened the path for the next queer Latino star rising behind him. What's special about Ray isn't just what he's achieved, it's what he symbolizes. That a gay Latino actor can be the hero in a genre built on macho mythology. That you can be funny without being a joke. That resilience is just another word for survival with style. Fans adore him for the on-screen chaos. The industry respects him for the off-screen courage. And his peers look to him as proof that authenticity isn't a limitation. It's a power-up. In a video about openly gay men in Hollywood and their achievements, Santiago brings a narrative the world needs more of. Success that comes from breaking stereotypes, not bending to them. He didn't climb a ladder someone else built, he built his own. And now he's holding it steady for the next ones to rise. Because Santiago isn't here to be just another actor. He's here to show what happens when representation grows teeth and a chainsaw. In an industry built on spectacle, where every spotlight seems pre-programmed and every story crafted for maximum effect, Rory O'Malley arrived and quietly cracked open the whole system. With the warm humor of a Midwestern boy and the fire of a Broadway rebel, he didn't walk into the theater. He stormed it, not merely to perform, but to transform. Rory came out at 19, not for headlines, not for accolades, but because the mirror in his rented apartment showed no actor's face, only a reflection that didn't match the person he knew inside. That choice, simple, brave, set the tone for a career that has always stood for more than applause. It stood for change. On Broadway, he didn't wait for a hero's mantle, he grabbed one. Creating the role of Elder McKinley in the Book of Mormon, he took what could have been a caricature and turned it into one of the most emotionally charged performances Broadway had ever seen. His Tony nomination wasn't just for the part, it was for what he made it mean. Audiences laughed, but then they felt. They identified. They changed. Not content to dominate one corner of entertainment, Rory stepped into the cultural sphere beyond the lights. As co-founder of Broadway Impact, he didn't just act out gay rights. He mobilized theater for marriage equality, turning chorus lines into phone banks, performers into activists, stage lights into protest beacons. When Hollywood turned whispers into clickbait, he turned action into a movement. His career didn't stop at comedy or musicals. From playing King George in Hamilton to intimate cabaret shows that peeled back the actor's mask and revealed the human, Rory proved his versatility. Whether he's reciting melody or marching for rights, the intent is the same: authenticity. In the age of revolving fame, Rory shows what duration looks like, not the quick flash of viral stardom, but sustained relevance rooted in courage and craft. He reminds Hollywood that identity is not a box, it's a voice. That an openly gay man in his 30s isn't a headline, he's the story. Those pews filled, those awards nominated, those crowds rallied, they aren't the end point. They fuel the next stage. He mentors younger artists, speaks at Pride events, uses his platform not as a banner, but as a bridge. When you talk about openly gay men reshaping Hollywood, don't just mention the leading roles. Mention the roles built behind those roles. The architect, the activist, the actor. Rory O'Malley is that triple threat. He didn't just break glass ceilings, he rose through the fragments. And with every standing ovation, every phone call made, every equality law pushed forward, he proves success isn't about fitting in, it's about paving ways. In the spotlight's glare, Rory isn't simply visible, he's indispensable. And for a generation hungry for representation, he isn't just seen, he's felt. In Hollywood, some stars explode with fireworks, and others glow from the inside out until suddenly, the whole room can't look away. Michael J. Willett isn't the star who explodes, he's the one who endures. The kind you remember, because he makes you feel something. Long before the media turned coming out into marketing, Michael was already living his truth. No staged announcement, no dramatic headlines, just honesty. And from that honesty, he built a career worth admiring. Actor, singer, storyteller, a talent with both voice and heart. Audiences first noticed him on TV, But the real breakthrough came with United States of Terra. In this Emmy-winning series, Michael didn't just act, he challenged television. Lionel, smart, bold, and beautifully unbothered by gender boxes, forced Hollywood to rethink queer characters. Not punchlines, not side stories, humans with layers and ambition. Then came Faking It, one of the first mainstream teen shows to put queer identity front and center. Michael stepped into Shane Harvey, confident, charismatic, a gay character with leading man energy Hollywood still struggles to admit exists. He wasn't decoration, he moved the story. He represented a brand new queer icon. And if you think he's only a TV star, think again. He sings, and when he opens his mouth, you hear a voice that's lived more than his age reveals. Pop, indie, electro, ballad, he owns every style, and still sounds unmistakably him. His original singles and musical projects proved he has what every true artist needs, a musical soul. What makes Michael stand out among LGBTQ+ actors of his generation is this truth. He didn't enter the business to be a symbol. The art came first, and the inspiration followed. No scandals, no gimmicks, just talent, delivered by someone who knows exactly who he is. He chooses roles with intention, not for safety but for meaning. He talks about growth, about breaking beauty standards, about becoming the role model his younger self never had. He represents queer people who want recognition, not for being queer, but for being excellent. Hollywood is catching on. Michael J. Willett is not a mystery actor. He's the answer to storytelling that's authentic and diverse. His name might not be the loudest headline, but it's the one that sticks, because he never waits for the spotlight. He turns it on himself. Quiet, confident, influential. Michael is a reminder that sometimes the trailblazer isn't the one shouting from the mountaintop, but the one building the path everyone else will walk. And with all that talent, resilience, and heart pointed in the right direction, his journey is only just beginning. So what do you think about Michael J. Willett? Is he one of the most underrated queer talents in Hollywood right now? Did his voice, his characters, his journey leave a mark on you too? Tell us in the comments below. We're reading everything. Hollywood is often celebrated for its fresh faces, loud premieres, and headline-making moments. But sometimes the most powerful shifts happen quietly, in small rooms, on subtle stages. And Mitchell Anderson is proof. He didn't storm the red carpet with blinding flashbulbs. He walked through the door, set the light on his own terms, and invited others to stay in the room. Coming out publicly in 1996, at a time when many gay actors still hid their truth for fear of industry exile, Mitchell made a choice that mattered. Not for the cameras, not for the accolades, simply because he believed the story of who he was deserved the air. That brave moment didn't just affect his life. It reshaped the blueprint for gay actors who followed. On screen, his roles spanned the unexpected. From Doogie Howser MD, where he brought dry wit and precision, to Party of Five, where he played Ross Workman, one of the first gay recurring characters in a major network drama. His performance didn't just fill a slot, it pulled open the door for characters, queer and non-queer alike, to be defined by layers, not labels. And then came the films. Jaws, The Revenge, The Karen Carpenter Story, If These Walls Could Talk Too, each one building his range, his presence, his ability to shift between genres and emotional territories. Off-screen, Mitchell's story became even more compelling. He didn't view advocacy as a side hustle. He viewed it as a duty. After coming out, he aligned with organizations like the Human Rights Campaign, used his platform to amplify voices that often went unheard, and proved that publicly being gay could coexist with doing serious work, not just playing characters. When Hollywood treated queer identity as a punchline or a subplot, Mitchell treated it as central. And in his journey, representation stopped being optional and started being essential. His evolution didn't stop at acting either. Atlanta became his next stage. He turned his creative instincts toward hospitality, founding Metro Fresh, a restaurant that became a hub for community, authenticity, and connection. It was another form of storytelling, this time through food, space, and shared tables. Because for Mitchell, art isn't only what happens on screen, it's what happens when people gather, talk, break bread, and leave changed. In a business obsessed with novelty and youth, Mitchell stands as proof that longevity and integrity matter. He reminds Hollywood, talent isn't defined by age, by box office, by trend. It's defined by depth, by impact, by consistency. He's not just a name for the credits, he's a name for the change. What makes Mitchell Anderson a key figure in the story of gay men in Hollywood isn't only that he was openly gay early, it's what he did with that truth. He didn't wait for the industry to catch up. He kept acting, kept performing, kept cooking, kept fighting. He turned coming out into staying out, sustaining presence in a space that often discards voices once the spotlight dims. In the story of openly gay men reshaping Hollywood, Mitchell's chapter may be quieter, but it's just as vital. He didn't just break ground, he built the foundation. And for those who follow, his steady footsteps still echo. Watch Mitchell Anderson now, and you're not just seeing a character, you're seeing a craftsman. A man who chose authenticity over applause. In a world chasing headlines, he proves one thing. The most powerful career doesn't chase exposure. It stays true, bold, and lasting. In the shadows of Broadway's blinding lights and Hollywood's relentless spotlight, Matthew Risch has been carving a path of quiet integrity, one less trafficked but infinitely meaningful. A stage actor first, a film and TV presence next, Risch never sought the billboard fame. He sought truth, he sought craft, and he sought to be seen exactly as he was, openly gay, unapologetic, powerful in subtlety. He confirmed his identity early on, in an industry that still wrestled with labels and fear. That early honesty gave him a foundation few dared to build. And for him, fame wasn't about being seen by millions, it was about being seen well. He took to Broadway's stages dance between musicals and dramas, understudies and lead replacements, not merely for the credits, but for the work itself. His Broadway credits read like a hidden map of ambition. Legally Blonde, Pal Joey, other desert cities, each role a lesson, each curtain a challenge. When most actors chase the limelight, Risch shaped the light to follow him. On screen, he landed in independent films with weight. The gay protagonist in Test, smaller roles in major franchises, guest arcs on network shows. Less glam, more guts. Because his goal wasn't to be the loudest voice, it was to be the right voice. Outside the marquee, Risch's story resonates deeply because he chose the road less taken. Instead of chasing blockbuster stardom, he committed himself to the communities that often get overlooked. He mentored younger queer artists. He spoke at panels not titled How I Made It, but Why I Stay in It. He treated identity not as a box to check, but as a platform to elevate everything else: storytelling, empathy, artistry. What sets Matthew apart is how he blends visibility with vulnerability. On-screen characters may vanish when the season ends, but Risch's presence, on stage and off, keeps adding up. His consistency reminded Hollywood, openness isn't a brand, it's a backbone. He didn't settle for being the openly gay actor in a sea of straight narratives. He repositioned the narrative itself. In a world where youth is worshipped and novelty is applauded, Risch stands as proof that longevity and quiet influence count. He didn't chase flash, he stacked bricks. He didn't wait for the spotlight. He kept showing up. And that showing up was itself a statement. Gay actors can sustain decades, not just moments. For a video celebrating openly gay men in Hollywood and their achievements, Matthew Risch's chapter is crucial. Because success isn't always loud and headline-grabbing. Sometimes it's the accumulation of small, deliberate choices. The choice to play roles that challenge. The choice to live fully. The choice to craft an entire career on one's own terms. Today, when you see Matthew Risch on a marquee, or in a film credit, or in a backstage whisper, you're seeing a career built on quiet power. One that proves you don't have to dominate the screen to own it. You don't have to be major studio famous to be major. You just have to be authentic, even if fewer people know your name. And those who do, remember it. They changed the game. They broke the rules. They proved that queer talent can be seen, but needs to be led. Who should we look out for next? Comment below, and stay tuned and subscribe because the queer revolution in Hollywood just keeps getting more exciting.